So let's get started. Hey, Chris, so excited to have you with us today, and our attendees will join right in some time. Um, I would like to sort of give a quick introduction of, how Chris has been a strategic advisor, works with Techstars and multiple enterprises on the pursuit of how customer experiences need to be nailed, and they could be done with different ways, whether it's technology, whether it's processes, or different types of thinking, pure planning it ahead. So would love to have this interaction with you, Chris, today, because we are at a very important inflection point in our journey. We are looking at building AI that's for sales teams. Now, is that about selling, or is that about creating that pertinent experience for your buyer, that they trust you, that they feel that they want to interact, engage with your brand? And that depends not on any technology, your product, what you bring to the table, but really how you made the person feel, right? So it's a lot more harder, and how do we really drive that is something that we would like to explore with you, learn from you on what could be some of those hacks and tips that you can give us for really getting to great customer experiences. So, Chris, let's start with that. Thank you. Welcome aboard. And just with a quick introduction, and then we will dive into questions.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the conversation. I think there's a lot of elements that you just touched on in terms of, how sales uses AI, how they can use it, how consumers use AI, how they think about it, the collaboration of various tools within your organization, both from a sales but also from a consumer support perspective. Product management would even be in there. Customer success teams really are all part of this process. And so, thinking about how we can bring all of that together and how AI is helping us to bring all that together, I think is a critical conversation. And so for a quick introduction, I'm Chris Hood. I'm a strategist, keynote speaker. I've been in the AI space for about 25 years now. And so for those people who think that AI just came up in the last couple of years, it's been an old technology and more recently has gained popularity. And I've worked for companies like Google and Disney, Fox Broadcasting, and I've used AI in each of those companies. So now today, I spend my time talking with people like our audience today. I write books. I just finished the manuscript of my fourth book that was shipped off to the publisher. Has some components about AI involved in that as well. So yeah, really excited and really looking towards the conversation ahead.
Absolutely great. Thank you so much, Chris. That it's a privilege to have you with us, of course. And one thing I would like to say on that comment is that AI has been like there for so many years. It's amazing, but now we are getting to sort of look at it at a more democratic, more larger level, because again, because of the experience that now it can create. It's more accessible, understandable, and that's amazing. So let's go back to a little bit of history of it and really understand that how AI, in your view, has evolved when it comes to not just solving automation as a problem, because technology always has reduced human work, but really creating those meaningful experiences for us as humans. Where how do you think it has really evolved?
Yeah, well, you touched on that. I mean, the biggest thing that has changed in the last couple of years is that we have been able to access it easier. So with ChatGPT, now you have the power of AI in the palm of your hand, so to speak. And there's an interface where I can go in, ask a question, and get a response. And this type of technology, generative, transformative type of AI, has been around for a long time, 15, 20 years. But the interface for it so that everyday people like us could use it, that has always been, not available. So now that it is, and now that we can readily engage with it, readily see the output, use it for various purposes like work and creativity, brainstorming, strategy sessions, whatever you want to say. That's been the largest reason for the popularity boost, and because of that, it's available 24/7, because it is in the palm of our hand, because it has access to a lot of data, and because it is fairly good, people have been really drawn to using it for various types of use cases, and people have come up with some really interesting use cases along the way. I think one of the challenges that we do have, though,
Mhm.
is that people are trying to use it for everything. And in a lot of cases, it's probably not the best option or the best tool. There are other types of AI models that are out there that probably serve you better, but those are not accessible in the same way like generative models like LLMs are today.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's like a lot of assumptions on what AI is. It's just equating it to Chat GPT. And that's why generative AI has like taken over all the definitions of AI. But I completely agree with you. Like there is like so much more that can be done, and that still needs more awareness, more evangelization. And that's how we will go from here. So Chris, on that, I also want to sort of understand that when you do like, a landscaping of AI's contribution to our working world, where do you think it's adding value when it comes to some meaningful experiences? What are some of the top use cases that you are seeing organizations adopting for creating human-centered experiences, customer experiences for using AI?
Yeah, the biggest area of success right now, probably hands down, is in the customer support arena.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I mean by that is customer has a problem, they contact you, they want an answer,
Yeah.
and you're able to leverage generative AI in some way to provide a correct answer as fast as possible.
Mm.
Um, that is the key. Consumers don't mind engaging with AI as long as they are getting their answers fast. And
Yeah.
part of the problem is I use this example because it just happened a couple of weeks ago. I had a problem with a service. I got an email saying, you need to call in and talk to somebody or click this link and we'll solve it for you. So I click the link and it takes me to a chatbot. The
Mm.
chatbot had no context of what the problem was.
Right.
I'm trying to explain what the problem is, and the AI eventually says, I can't help you with this. You need to
Mm.
talk with a person. And then proceeds to tell me the next available person is a 2 hour wait. Well, that is not appropriate, right?
Yeah,
One, if I click a link to go to a chatbot, the context of that should go with it so that the chatbot knows what to do. And if
exactly.
it's something as simple as, like in my case, it was a reset of a particular setting, profile setting, the chatbot, the AI tool, should have been able to execute that instead of
Mm.
waiting for 2 hours for a real person. And so these are the challenges. Like we demand, as consumers, we demand readily available attention to whatever our problem is. And AI is helping in a lot of areas. We just have to be able to navigate and make it smarter so that it can solve those problems faster.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I believe that's like that's the basic, right? I mean, when you're asking a question, answering it with facts and uh data is just like very simple thing to do, and it has to be done in a way where user just instantly gets the answer and they can move forward and save some time. So yeah, that's I'm also seeing a lot of application in BPOs, and call centers, where you just need to sort of put a bot out there and they can take you through your scheduling processes in hospitals, or your simple answers for the banks, for insurance policies if you're confused about something, because it is like it could be complex to understand your insurance riders and stuff like that. So it's able to sort of provide that support very quickly. And when we talk to BPOs, they are very interested in just automating the whole process and really looking at it from instant input, giving customer answers as soon as possible, creating a scalable system that can support them, and everybody is getting answers without any waiting queues. So I think that's becoming very critical for BPOs now, is what I'm observing. So, Chris, I also feel that, segueing a little bit into some other use cases, what we are observing, and I would love to know your opinion about it, more from the critical side, because we are doing work in a space where we need more of other side where somebody is being a devil's advocate. So what do you think are the perils? So one use case for us is, how do we really use AI avatars and role play bots to train sales agents, sales teams, because they don't get a lot of mock pitch experiences with their managers. They are scared of asking questions, and when they go to the client, they're not able to convert the deal, and every deal is a revenue loss for the company. So we help them using AI avatars, AI customers who talk to them, give them mock pitch experience, give them reports, and help them with coaching. What do you feel could be some of the things that we should be mindful of when we are implementing this kind of technology?
Yeah, so, I think this is one of the areas where an LLM, can be pretty helpful for you. So, avatars, we can put the conversation of an avatar aside momentarily. But broadly, the concept is I need some sort of training. And we can see that across the board with a lot of different areas. Training my staff, training sales teams. I've also recommended this basic premise for if you are applying for a job
Mhm.
and you want somebody to be an interview coach. You could ask, say, ChatGPT, pretend like you are interviewing me for this job. You can cut and paste the job description into the chat and then provide me a set of questions. Ask me those questions. I will respond and evaluate my responses. Right, that general process of training and leveraging an LLM to support you in that training, I think, is an extremely valuable use case for any type of function. Again, sales, internal training, external training, even consumer-based onboarding. You can do all of that through a basic type of system like ChatGPT. Now,
Mm.
when we start to add on things like avatars, video components, any audio, so that you can actually talk back and forth and do this process, we do get into areas of complication. So, for example, for internal purposes, if I wanted to use this to train my employees, that's probably not a bad idea. It brings a little bit more personality to it. There's a little bit more interest. People are beginning to engage with, avatar-based systems more. For external purposes, though, we are actually seeing that people are uncomfortable with that process. So we've seen a lot of companies playing with the idea of having an avatar actually conduct a job interview. And so I log into the job interview. I'm expecting to be talking with a real person for that interview. I see an AI bot that is there, and I know that it's a bot. The immediate perception is that this company doesn't care about me. And
Yeah.
so I exit out. And the same process, the same mentality applies going back to our support. If I'm calling in and I want to talk to a human being and I'm being bombarded with a bot and press one for this and in an endless loop, I get frustrated. And that frustration turns into, I don't want to do business with you. And
Mm.
so this is why I think some separation has to be considered when you're doing it for internal purposes. I think you can get away with a lot more. The discomfort of talking with an avatar can be massaged a little bit because it's internal training. For
Right.
external purposes, though, I would always recommend either just doing straight text interface or have a real person who's there supporting you.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I think yeah, that's a valid point because external people, your customers, your vendors, external parties, they also would expect like really good service, focus, and that obviously is taken away if you're talking to AI. So yeah, very important. Thank you for highlighting that, Chris. That's as a trajectory when we are thinking ahead of what could be possible applications, it'll be very helpful for us. So I know we are also sort of, reaching like end of the session, but one very important aspect that I want to cover with you is what do you feel when you talk to C-suite leaders and, when you try to understand their methodology, their thinking about AI in customer facing roles in sales and customer support, so on and so forth. What do you think are metrics beyond productivity, if there are any considered, and top risks that these executives are looking at to uh, solve for before they go live?
Well, unfortunately, pretty much every executive on the planet right now is trying to figure out how to use AI for their own selfish purposes. That's really what it boils down to. They want to save money. They want to reduce costs, right? They want to make more money in some way. They want to boost efficiencies. Like all of these things are primarily the drivers for wanting to engage with AI, as
Mm.
opposed to thinking about, how do I better solve our customers' problems? And how do I provide them with better solutions? And really, this means that people have to go through a little bit of a mental shift in their
Mm.
thinking. I
Mm.
often talk about that you could solve a customer's problem and you could potentially solve it without AI. Like AI doesn't necessarily have to be the solution to solving the problem. But when you start with AI and you say, well, I'm going to implement AI and we're
Yeah.
going to figure out a way to use AI without
Mm.
actually associating it back to a consumer based problem, then
Yeah.
you potentially waste a lot of time and resources and risk alienating your customers because I think the biggest point of AI is that you really need to provide an option. I correlate this to if you've ever gone to a grocery store and the grocery store has a self checkout line, but they also
Mm.
have an aisle where you can go down and a human can actually help you check out. There's an
Yeah.
option. I can pick A or B. But
Yeah.
right now, what we're seeing is there is no option. I am forced to use the
Mm.
chat system. I am forced to use AI. I walk into, say, a Taco Bell, and I am forced to use a kiosk to place my order instead of going up to the counter and talking to somebody. When you are forcing the technology based on what you want, that is a you problem, right? And these are the things that I think executives have to consider. You have to get out of the mindset of I'm building something to solve our problems versus you are building something to solve your consumers' problems, which may or may not require AI to do.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's so true. That's amazing. So great. So I think what I learned also is about right now the time is just to help them become more aware of what are the possibilities and how do we really think beyond immediate gains of productivity, cost reduction, and it's just like as a builder, as a startup, it's not just about creating a great product, but creating awareness around it is also as critical, is what I hear you say.
Yeah, here's another way you can look at it. In about 5 years, no one's going to be talking about AI,
Mm.
but you will still have customers.
Yeah.
and you will
Yeah.
still need to serve those customers. And whatever
Yeah.
the next technology is, you will need to evolve that technology to serve
Mm.
your customers. The
Yeah.
customer is not changing. Your technology will continue to change. And
Yeah.
so the companies that get into the process of recognizing what their customers need first and
Yeah.
then worrying about whatever the technology solution is that comes now, tomorrow, or in the future, that is secondary. Those are the companies that are successful every single time.
Right. Absolutely. I think great. So this was an amazing insight. Again, one more, and helps us to really anchor our narratives, our market outreach always towards customer problems and not towards how we solve them, really. We can solve it on an Excel sheet, but yeah, we should solve that. So amazing. Thank you so much, Chris. I think we also have like questions coming up from the people who are attending. So I just want to give them an
Yeah.
opportunity because we have few minutes left. So we have a question coming from Ramya. She asked that how can organizations ensure that AI driven coaching doesn't make sales interactions feel scripted or robotic?
That's a hard one because again, depending upon how your internal training is set up, and again, depending upon your chat-based system, you might get into the routine of answering the question the same way every single time, right? Like this is how I have to answer it to be correct. So some of the ways that you can modify that, especially within like Chat GPT or the LLM based systems, is to say, provide me with 5 variations of this same question and provide me with 5 variations of answers for those questions. And then this way you get some variety and you can train people on, what feels more comfortable for you. This might be a better way to present it based on your personality or the way you communicate. So yeah, having that those variations in the process will help.
Okay, great. Amazing. Thank you so much, Chris. There's another question from Mansi. What do you think is the biggest challenge companies face when they're trying to balance empathy with automation?
Yeah, I think we sort of touched on that, which is provide people with options. Automation basically says that you don't have empathy. Empathy directly means you are listening to your customer. You want to
Yeah.
hear what they have to say. So you can't do that if everything is purely automated. I think the biggest opportunity for any company out there is to figure out how do I balance this with options. Option A, some way to talk with a human or have more one-on-one type of support. Look, you could also automate some of that. It doesn't always have to be a direct conversation 24/7 with a human. But you should always be thinking about this in, like a purely automated, straightforward process versus a more empathetic approach. Because as of right now, we really can't combine the two. You can't
Mm.
be automated and empathetic simultaneously. And
Mm.
systems aren't empathetic by nature, so you can't rely on the system to be empathetic. The human has to be a part of that loop in order to support it. But think about the grocery store, think about, aisle A or aisle
Mm.
B, figure out, okay, if this is my automation path, then what is another alternative path that can be more empathetic?
Okay. Chris, so I think there's another question from Maxim, and I would like to connect it to what you just said that, earlier any technology has its own curve of evolution. So when a technology comes in, we always need human aid and then, use that as an option for us, like simple parking, right? Like if we take parking lots as an example, earlier there used to be people who used to help us park, and now it's like, I don't want anybody to come in my way. Just get off and I'll just do that on my own. Just I'll press the button and I'll do it. So in the future, do you think that as AI evolves, as it becomes more human, more empathetic, more emotional driven, will human augmentation reduce and automation will start taking over where actually bots are talking to each other? Is that something that you're seeing as a reality for organizations happening in the near future? Or is it still that you feel, or as per your interactions, we're still a decade away from that?
No, I think we're probably going to move in that direction, but I think there's a couple of challenges that are going to, be in the way. And, if we stick with shopping as an example, let's say that you need to go grocery shopping. Either you can get in the car and go to the grocery store and do the grocery shopping, or, theoretically, imagine if you had an AI agent that knew the contents of your refrigerator, knew what you made on a weekly basis, knew that you need another dozen eggs, knows what your recipes are for the upcoming week and what, you need to get from the grocery store, and also knows what your current budget is and, and how much you want to expend. So you can provide those details. You can say, I want you to go buy $100 of groceries. Do not exceed $100. And then it can theoretically come up with whatever the grocery list is within that budget. And the agent can then go off, talk with a grocery store agent that then gathers that material and then brings it back and then gets delivered to your doorstep. Like theoretically, you could have agent to agent types of interactions like that that don't require direct human connection because you've already kind of pre-programmed the goals and the objectives and what you need and what you don't need. I think we're still a long way away from a system basically saying, like, I think you should eat more eggs because your diet is bad and no more cookies for you. And I'm going to decide what to buy for you. And I'm going to decide what the budgetary limit is because you already spend too much money on movies. And so, like that kind of self-reflected goal setting orientation, we're still, 10, 15, maybe 20 years away from that type of reality.
Yeah, I know that that would have been amazing though, but not for everyone. So yeah, we still want to control our choice, right to
Yeah.
choose. I think, yeah. So I do believe that's so true. So one last question, Chris, which is coming from Cody. So he says that great insights, Chris. Thank you. In your interactions with executives, how do you see them exploring AI for revenue retention and client health versus just a new logo acquisition?
I would like to say I don't see any executives doing it for the right reasons. They're really only doing it for logo adding on. Look, things like retention, even sales, like, customer satisfaction, whatever you want to call it, those scores are only reached when you deliver and solve consumer problems. That's it. So
Mm,
if you are solving their problems, they will come back. They will buy more.
mm,
That is business 101. And what seems to be lost in this whole conversation is that just because AI, a new technology, has emerged, does not mean that if I apply AI, I'm going to satisfy my customers. So if you
yeah,
always start with your customer and figure out how you are going to help them and be more successful, they will come back. And you will naturally then add more logos to your portfolio because you are solving those new accounts problems. But
exactly.
if you're working backwards and you're like, oh, we're going to implement AI and we're going to just figure out a way to, hype it up so that people get excited and want to buy it, at some point in time, the smoke and mirrors is going to go away and you're going to lose those customers.
Yeah, perfect. I think yes. So the central key to this remains to be how do we really solve those problems more effectively? And just to add to that point, Chris, I just love that point of solving problems where AI can really help us, Cody, is also in terms of vast amount of data that you capture about a customer. And as a human, it's impossible for you to really make sense of that data what are some of the trends and patterns it's giving you. So one of the clients, one of the largest healthcare providers in the US, is our customer. And what we do every week is just like we allow our AI to ingest a lot of information about what's going on, how are users liking it, not liking it, do pattern analysis, and really see projections on their strategy, on their decisions from now. And we help them take those decisions using AI, because for us as humans, as consultants, we are not able to ingest so much vast amount of data and make sense of it.
Yeah, love it. Like that's exactly it. Like you're pointing AI to help you solve the problem, to figure out and better understand. We talk about voice of the customer. You want to better understand what your customers are saying so that you
Yeah.
could better serve them. It's a great use case for AI. If you want to better support them so they get their answers faster, great use case for AI. We're not saying don't use AI. What we're saying is start with the problem, then use AI to help you solve that problem, whatever it is, that you need to do.
Yes. Absolutely. This is amazing, Chris. I thoroughly enjoyed this session talking to you and really gaining perspectives from different walks of life in our personal life and in businesses. And I'm sure our viewers have enjoyed it as well. So thank you for your time today, Chris. And we will stay in touch and hopefully have more interactions like this in the future where you can enlighten our users to really have this going.
Yeah, absolutely.